Hello, and welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I'm your host, Janet Neal, and I am so glad you're with us. Tonight, my guest is Cynthia Kersey. Cynthia is a powerhouse, and she has started a foundation called Unstoppable Foundation. We're going to find all about that. But first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about how Cynthia and I met, because I always like to tell people, how I meet people along my path. So Cynthia and I met in graduate school. And we really, we talked a few times, but we talked more after we graduated. And so this is really fun to be able to reconnect and to see what's been going on with her since then. But more than that, I want you to meet her because she's got a great story and she's got so much that she's doing that gives back to the world. And that's what I like to talk about with Superwomen. Not only have they been able to touch what is important to them, but that they're giving back. So Cynthia is one of those people who also, like a lot of us, came from corporate life. She left her corporate life to go write a book, which became a bestseller. And then she left it all behind to follow her path, to follow what was talking to her from her heart. So let's hear about that. So Cynthia, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jan, it's so great seeing you. How much fun.
Yes, very fun. Great to have you here. So Cynthia, I was just telling everybody a little bit about you, but why don't you take us through your journey? So you started off in corporate and left to follow one path.
So I started at Sprint as an entry-level telemarketer and went to the top of my field. I became a national account manager for Sprint Communications. I sold a $30 million account. So I'm at the top of my corporate career, and I am not passionate about my life. Imagine that. And I started really looking at what would I be passionate about? What was my purpose? And I always loved stories about unstoppable people. I didn't call them that at the time, but people who had a dream and despite all sorts of challenges, they were able to overcome that and ultimately they prevailed. So I decided back in 1996, even though I'd never written anything more than a college term paper in my entire life, that I would leave a six-figure corporate job, cash in my entire life savings, downsize my life, and at that point I was married and my son, I had a 17-year-old son, like completely downsized our life to write my first book, Unstoppable.
Wow.
And that was like, a major leap of faith. But I felt like I had to do something that inspired me. And so I, when you're an unpublished author, you're like the lowest of the lows in the publishing industry. Nobody takes you seriously. So I'm rejected by publishers. I'm rejected by agents. I'm rejected by people I want to interview for the book. So I had a lot of opportunities to live the unstoppable message. And 2.5 years after I quit my job, my book was published. And so I'm living my purpose, right? I'm out there, and 18 months after my book came out, my husband of 20 years and I separated and got a divorce.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like turning point number 2.
Right.
And I was, devastated. I thought I'd be married my whole life. And I called my mentor, Millard Fuller, who's the founder of Habitat for Humanity, and I told him what had happened. And he said, when you have a great pain in your life, you need a greater purpose.
Oh, wait.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Say that one again. I love it.
Yeah, I know. So good. He said, when you have a great pain in your life, you need a greater purpose.
Love it.
And he had just gotten back from Nepal, and he said, why don't you build a house for a family in need? And as I thought about what he said, I thought, how many houses would I need to build to offset this pain in my life?
Wow.
And, I'd never built one house before. I didn't even know where Nepal was. But as I really checked in, like, what would be bigger than my pain? I thought, 5 houses? No. 10 houses? Not even close. When I got to the number 100 houses, that was bigger than my pain. So, and it was $2,000. I had to raise $2,000 for each house. So it'd be $200,000.
Wow.
And here I am, a brand new author, living on a $14.95 book, just got a divorce, but my purpose is bigger than my pain.
Mm.
So that year when I'm out there speaking and healing, and, you know, many times my eyes literally were so swollen from crying the night before. And I think about those families that didn't even have a simple, decent place to live. And that inspired me to keep going. And that year I raised $200,000. I took a group of 18 people to Nepal the next year, and we helped build the first 3 of the 100 homes that subsequently were built that year. And that experience, Janet, changed my life. Because at first I thought, oh, you know, I'm doing something great for them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I hadn't anticipated was how it would fundamentally change my life.
Wow.
And what was interesting is that year I made more money selling a $14.95 book than I even made in corporate America, earning a 6-figure income.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And it was like my first realization of understanding the law of giving and receiving. You know, it was like, wow, I really got, because that wasn't my intention to make all this money. But as I was in alignment with my soul's purpose, it unfolded for me, and I was giving. So it's kind of like the law of giving. You know, we've all heard, you know, given and shall be given and all the scriptures. But the key thing, I think, what I learned is it doesn't say give when your conditions change. You know, give once you're in debt or out of debt or your kids are raised, or it's like give and it shall be given unto you. Okay. So that actually activates the flow of receiving in our life. So I started really this journey of really cultivating and learning more about the power of giving. So that's kind of the first step. And then if you want me to continue, the second part is, so I'm you know, living my purpose, and my second book came out in 2005. So I was always looking for other projects, philanthropic projects, to integrate into my life, because I never was motivated to make money for the sake of making money. It was really, what would that money make possible? Okay. And I actually started USM in 2005. So my second book was just coming out. And I'm looking for my next big project. And I was invited to attend a rural African women conference. It was the first ever conference in rural Kenya.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the only thing I knew about this conference was that women were going to come together and share their stories. That's it. Wow. And I just had this thing inside where I should go, right? And there's the logical part that says, you don't have time, you're in the, you know, it's like, seriously? Because it was like within a month that I decided to go and booked my flight and went over there and fell in love with these empowered women. And, you know, there were 400 women who, many of them walked days to get there.
Yeah.
And I learned later that they, you know, many of them had never even left their village before. But as I heard story after story of women, you know, how do we get, you know, health care for our children? I mean, one woman, her daughter got malaria and could even make it to the healthcare clinic, which was 20 hours away. Her baby died.
Oh.
So it's like just, you know, story after story. And the biggest story was, how do we get our children an education? Because without it, nothing happens.
Right.
So as I'm leaving, these women, you know, we're hugging each other and we're crying, and they're like pleading with me. They're like, please don't forget us. So I'm like, oh, great. You know, like, what can I do? You know, what am I going to do? Seriously, this problem's too big. It's been going on forever. But I made them a promise that I would do something. And I went home, and did you know Debbie Ford?
Yes.
Here she is. So she was a dear friend, and I was at her house over Thanksgiving, and she told me about how Bo, her son, for his bar mitzvah, instead of asking for gifts, asked people to donate money to help build a school in Uganda. And I literally sat up and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to begin to answer that promise to those women. So I had my 50th birthday that came up. This is 8 years ago in March. And I charged people $100 to attend. Debbie was there with me. And then I asked people for more money at the event. And we raised $80,000. And that helped fund 2 schools in Uganda. And that was the beginning. And then I'm almost done with the story. That was really the beginning of what I'm doing today. So I thought, wow, if I could do that in one night, what could I do if I actually put my mind to it? Okay, how are we going to solve this issue? And I started doing research, and I got that, there are a lot of great organizations that build schools in developing countries, and in 3 to 5 years, they're empty. So I looked at, why are they empty?
Right.
And it's like, you can build a school, but if you don't provide access to clean water, the girls are fetching water and the kids are sick from drinking contaminated water.
Right.
And if you don't provide access to health care, they can't attend school. And if you don't provide a nutritious meal every day, they're hungry, they can't focus. And if you don't provide education for the parents so that this project can be self-sustaining, it won't be successful. So that was the basis of looking for a partner that implemented all 5 pillars, education, clean water and sanitation, healthcare, food and nutrition, and income and empowerment training for the parents. So that's really now what my foundation does. We implement all 5 pillars and provide, a curriculum that enables them and the entire community to lift themselves out of extreme poverty.
That is phenomenal. And I just want to insert here something that I've learned from you, because back when you were just starting, I don't even know if it was the foundation yet. Maybe it was that first year. I was looking to do, in another company that I had, I was looking to get speakers to talk for a platform I was putting together. And Cynthia and I had a conversation about it, and very graciously, she declined, because her focus was so completely on what she was doing.
Are you talking about me?
You. And I learned something that day from you, Cynthia, when we were having that conversation, because I saw how focused you were then, and I see what has happened as a result. And I learned a lot. So I want to thank you for, demonstrating that lesson to me.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I have to say, I think that's one of my better qualities is focus, because I've learned if you don't get really clear, a confused mind does nothing.
Right.
So if you want yourself or you want other people to engage, you have to be clear. So I think of all my qualities, being clear and focused is really where I sort. And if it isn't in alignment with my purpose, or, especially in the beginning when you're building something, there's not a lot of extra time. So, now even though I'm busy, I'll say yes to things if I love the person, or you know what I'm saying, if it's an alignment. But I think people have to get clear. There are so many great people out there, Janet, who have businesses, as you know, and nonprofits, and they're so everywhere, I wouldn't even know how to help them.
Right. Yep. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So that's fabulous. So you've got this great foundation now, the Unstoppable Foundation, that has a wonderful, I wish I lived in LA. For those of you in LA, you have to check it out next year. Tell us a little bit about the gala that you throw.
Yeah, well, what's happened is it started at that birthday party. That was the first, event. And since then, we skipped 1 year because I didn't want to do another birthday party. But then once I started really getting the foundation going, I called it a gala. And now it's really turned into like 800 people, 800 plus people come. Jack Canfield calls it the Oscars of the personal development industry, because there's so many people, because that's my field, my area.
Right.
So many people come, and you know, it's like a optional black tie. It's evolved. Like the people have kind of told me what they want as you know, I've developed it, and it's a fun event. But the key thing is it's a very important evening for us because it's an opportunity for people to see what we're doing, feel the heart of what we're doing, and engage at a deeper level. So the foundation, over the last 8 years, we funded, we're on our 14th community with this sponsor a village model, this 5-pillar model. So we've got over 30,000 men, women, and children who are getting access to all 5 of these pillars in the Masai Mara in Kenya. Well, and it's evolved. So we first helped fund primary schools, and the kids graduated from primary to school and they needed to go to high school. So we helped fund 2 high schools where they're actually boarding schools for girls. And now they're graduating and they need to go to college. So our partners are building the college, and we're funding all of the scholarships with unstoppable scholarships.
Oh, it's fabulous.
So it's really cool. So there's 4 tracks, and then we're bringing in leadership and empowerment training and curriculum in addition to them learning, you know, tourism or nursing. There's 4 tracks: entrepreneurism and agriculture. So, and then this year we've also expanded to India. So we're doing the same 5-pillar model in India. So we tripled our international impact last year. My goal is to double it again.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I talk about, as far as my experience in Superbwoman, is that they have learned to let go of shoulds. So what is one should that you have let go of on your path?
Well, I think, you know, what does it say? Be willing to give up good for great. So I think one of them is to focus. You can't say yes to everyone. You can't be a people pleaser as much as I'd like to. It's just, it doesn't serve my highest good. It doesn't serve others' highest good. So I have gotten a lot better at saying no. Mm-hmm. And I think the should for myself is the rules I have about, you know, and I don't want to sound like superficial, but it's kind of the biggest should for myself is to love and appreciate all aspects of myself exactly as it is. Exactly as it is. So I think as I do that and I don't argue with reality, you know what they say, whatever you resist, persist. So it's just like just being in the loving and understanding that, you know, I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and all of the meaning that we make up about stuff isn't even true. So that's honestly, I have to say that's a really big lesson that creates a lot of peace for me and allows me just to be in, you know, what is and focus on the higher good and not the neurotic voice that we all have.
Oh, that's a very good lesson for all of us to learn.
Yeah, and I get a chance to reinforce that a lot.
Well, the good news is you recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So who has helped you on your path?
Yeah, I've had a lot of really great mentors. Bob Proctor, when my first book came out, I met him. Actually, I'll go back one. Millard Fuller, the founder of Habitat for Humanity, was a huge mentor. So I learned so much from him. I was so inspired by him and what he was committed to in the world. And then Bob Proctor is another amazing mentor. So when I was doing this Nepal project and I had to raise $200,000, I had no idea how to do that. I was totally intimidated. I didn't know anybody that had money, and I talked to him. I just met him very early in the process because my book had just come out, right? And he's like, that's easy, Cynthia. Raising $200,000 is nothing. All you have to do is go find 10 people who could donate $20,000, and that's it. And I'm thinking, I don't know anybody that has $20,000. And literally, I mustered up every ounce of courage I possibly could muster. And I looked him right in the eyes and I said, would you donate the first $20,000?
Excellent. Good for you.
And he was like, gulp, because he had never contributed to that level before. And what's he going to say? So he wrote a check, and he's continued to write checks. I mean, he He said that I have taught him how to give, you know, and now they're the largest. I mean, they contribute significantly to the foundation, allowing us to do this work. And he said contributing, you know, giving and contributing to my foundation has made them a better company. They've got a bigger purpose. You know, he understands the law of giving and receiving, unlike anybody I've ever met. Bob is the most generous person I've ever known.
Wow. Wow.
So he's amazing. Mary Morrissey's another dear friend. I have a lot of, you know, people who I've been fortunate enough to learn from. Debbie Ford was a dear friend, and, you know, a lot of people who've really impacted my life.
Yeah. Wow. In very powerful ways, I can tell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I think I already know the answer to this, but what about gratitude? How does that play into your life?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's everything, you know. What is it? I can't remember who said it, but it's like, if the only prayer you ever have is thank you, that's enough. Mm-hmm. So I live from a place of gratitude. I practice gratitude and generosity. I think generosity, they go hand in hand. So it's really looking for, how can I contribute from this place of abundance? How can I give? How can I contribute? I'm always looking for, how can I give? Mm-hmm. Because I know how much joy that gives me, just on every single level. You know, I tithe a certain amount every single month. I'm always looking for, how can I say yes? And I give, and I encourage us to give from a place of inspiration and not out of obligation. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for example, I mean, so as parents, as wives, as, you know, people, you know, sometimes we give out of obligation. You know, you need to help your family member or whatever. And then in business, sometimes we give, but it's actually not giving, it's trading. It's, I'm going to help you if you help me. That's not giving, it's trading. What I'm talking about is giving from a place that totally inspires you. It's like, it's generative. So all the other things we do, but this is the level of, what am I inspired by? Who can I support? How can I give back? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm always living from that place. And when you do your life, you live in the overflow, right? Your life is filled, because you're always living from that higher place of contribution. Studies about giving. Stephen Post wrote a great book. Why good things happen to good people. Yeah, why good things happen to good people. And basically, he has a university who has studied generosity. It's like, he authored 50 studies in 44 participating universities. Oh, wow. All really looking at the power of giving and generosity. And overwhelmingly, he found that giving is the most potent force on the planet. So I can't think of anything that's more generative, that it just impacts everything. When I look at people think, well, why, you know, why have you, like, I have a lot of amazing people in my life, and they're all giving. I can't outgive them. I try, you know, I mean, I'm always thinking, what can I give them that they would love, that would make me so happy? You know, it's just their orientation. So I think when you get in harmony with that, and you learn how to give and be grateful, you're like a magnet to the good in the world. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Beautifully said. So tell us a little bit more. I know we had mentioned that you have your books, Unstoppable and Unstoppable Women. So tell the viewers a little bit about those books. I'm assuming you can get them on Amazon.
Yeah.
So tell a little bit about that, and then tell, you know, what's going on with the foundation and how people can get involved.
Okay, good. So Unstoppable really is, I interviewed all of these individuals and really looked at what are the qualities that made them unstoppable. So I identified 7 qualities, and then I looked at how do we integrate those into our own life. So it's all sorts of stories, ranging from people well-known to people you've never heard of, but they're inspiring. They overcame And it really demonstrates for us how we can do the same thing in our own life. And Unstoppable Women then takes that, and you actually implement a 30-day program of how do you then, once you know what you want, how do you actually get yourself to take the consistent action to make it happen. So that's really what Unstoppable Women's about. Regarding the foundation, we have, what I've learned, Janet, is that people want to give. People want to be generous, but they want to know that their money is going to where they think it's going to. They want to know that there's real impact that's happening as a result of their gift. And they want to be able to be engaged at some level. And the way I see this, and I've kind of grown into this, is that giving needs to be a transformational experience for the giver and the receiver. So in our work, we're always looking at how do we make giving, obviously the children and the communities are being transformed, but how do we bring transformation to our donors? So we have all sorts of different things that we do, but one of the things that people can fund is something called Sponsor a Village. And it's $25,000, and it brings all 5 of the pillars into a community for an entire year. And over a 5-year period, all 5 pillars are implemented from beginning to end. And then within 5 years after that, we can walk out of that community, and they can make it sustainable. So, you know, we've got a platform called myunstoppablechallenge.com, where you can use your birthday just like I did, or you can use your bar mitzvah or a graduation. It's a fundraising platform that you can take any day and turn it into a fundraiser. So people love that because so many people don't need anything else for their birthday. And many times people buy things that it's just a waste of money. You know, I mean, there's really nothing that I need that, and I know that a lot of people feel the same way. And if you need it, then, you know, that's one thing. But it's a way to create meaning in special events, whether it's in our personal life, it's in our family's life. It's a great thing to do for a holiday for a child so they can be a part of it. But then you can come to see the community that you're helping support in Kenya. That's a whole other thing that we offer for people so they can actually see it. They can help build a school with the community, or work on a classroom, or work on a latrine, and go in and really connect with these communities. It is like the biggest gift to be able to be a part of that.
Right. Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. And we will have a slide at the end of this so that people can get more information. But just tell us again the website.
Yeah, our main site is unstoppablefoundation.org. And you can essentially find everything. You can start your own fundraiser right from that. So that's probably easier, unstoppablefoundation.org.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Cynthia, I just want to thank you so much for being my guest today. I've learned so much today and been so inspired by what you've been saying. And I know that the viewers will as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for living into your bliss and your superb women, and just the love and the insights that you're bringing to so many women. And it was really great to reconnect with you, Janet.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you.
So for the rest of you, we'll see you next week on Superb Woman Sundays at 7. Take care.